This video is brought to you by onX Offroad. It's -17 outside. Unfortunately, this bad boy went out. onX Offroad reached out to Matt and I and said, hey, we want you guys to build a vehicle, and they're naming it the onX Offroad Build Challenge. And what we're gonna do is basically build a vehicle that is going to compete against other YouTube channels, and the winner of this challenge is gonna be the official onX Offroad vehicle for Ultimate Adventure 2023. You're so shiny. So now if you've been in off-roading as long as I have, you know that Ultimate Adventure's been around since I was in high school. And I'm super stoked. I've always wanted to go to it. And I've done a lot of research on Ultimate Adventure vehicles, and my personal opinion is that a pickup is probably the best option for an Ultimate Adventure rig. And I'm sure some of you are saying, Colt, why do you think a pickup is the perfect vehicle for Ultimate Adventure? Well, that's simple. Ultimate Adventure has created a word that we really haven't even used yet. People don't even realize what it is. You basically are half overlanding and half rock crawling. And they've created something called rock landing that we've never even used the word or terminology for. So we have to build something that can take on the hardest trails, yet still allow us to camp and carry food and carry all of our equipment all at the same time. Bam! My buddy Dave Chappelle from Dirthead Shed actually is a crony for Ultimate Adventure.
Look at my packing that we have to do for 2 people in a YJ for 7 days.
And Dave admitted to me that he was packed tight and he didn't have a lot of room, but he knew exactly what he needed to take or didn't take. So when I was in Tennessee last, I also stopped by my buddy Ian Johnson's place from Big Tire Garage, and he said that his pickup was actually the best thing he's ever had for Ultimate Adventure.
Very happy with how this truck turned out. Honestly, this is the package. From now on, this will be what I take on Ultimate Adventure every single year.
Because it could carry enough tools, not knowing exactly how much or how little you want to take, plus be able to camp out of it, plus be able to still wheel it. So a little background on Matt and I, we were both 80s kids, grew up in the 90s, and we're huge fans of Jeep Comanches. So that was the first thing we looked into, was a Jeep Comanche. Unfortunately, you guys have made those so expensive that we just couldn't get them. I mean, they're just unobtainium anymore at a price range that you could buy it as a driver and still be able to build it. So if I couldn't do a Jeep Comanche, then what else is from the late 80s, early 90s that we could build? Poor samurais just spend life under tarps in the wintertime. Now you got to remember, this vehicle's got to be able to hold 60 miles an hour on the highway, do hundreds of highway miles, and still be able to drive off-road as well. So the next thing you could think of that was built good in that time frame was a Toyota pickup. Unfortunately, they're in the same boat. Way, way, way overpriced.
Whoa, this is heavy.
We're gonna want fuel injection, we're gonna want these other things. I can't do a Jeep Comanche, can't do a Toyota. What's left that was good in that time frame? Well, Ford Ranger is a pretty solid rig. Unfortunately, thanks to the Ford freaking Ranger song, Ford freaking Rangers are expensive too. So now all that we have left in our budget is a Dodge Dakota or a Chevy S10. And the reality is a Dodge Dakota, unless it's got the 5.9, I just don't know if I would trust it with the V6. And the 5.9 ones, once again, are just too high priced for me to buy. So if you haven't figured it out by now, this is what we're building. But before you say, wait a minute, this is a Chevy S10, this isn't a Jeep, this is BleepinJeep, let me show you a few things. Now, if you're a fan of Jeep, you're obviously probably a fan of the Jeep 4.0. Why? Because it's a pretty durable motor. They were you could interchange a lot of parts pretty easily. They were in a lot of Jeep vehicles, a lot of Mopar vehicles, and you could just interchange a lot of stuff, even from the old 258s and the CJs. Now this is a Chevy 4.3 liter. It's basically a Chevy 350 minus 2 cylinders. It has the exact same throttle body, the exact same injectors, the exact same pistons, the exact same connecting rods, the exact same valves. Everything is basically interchangeable with the Chevy 350, which is probably one of the most common motors in the US. And this is going to be a very dependable, very simple motor to work on if you ever had to work on it. But behind that motor, this is where things get interesting. You could either get them with an automatic that has a 700 R4, or you could get them with a 5-speed. This 5-speed is an NV3500. Very similar to your Jeep NV3550. In fact, if you're really familiar with these transmissions, you'll know that they're all interchangeable as far as the guts go. It's just the outputs and the bell housings that are different. What's interesting about that is behind that is an NP231C. Now, if you're familiar with Jeep at all, you're very familiar with the NP231J. In fact, the NP231J and the NP231C are so interchangeable as far as the interior guts that you can still do a slip yoke eliminator on that Chevy S10 from any of the manufacturers that make them. Where they are different, once again, is that front output. Now let me show you one other thing that really gets me excited about the Chevy S10. All the drivetrain sits above the frame rail. How much money do we spend as Jeepers or off-road enthusiasts flat bellying our vehicles? And this one's already done for us. And that is why we chose the Chevy S10. I feel like it's one of the most underrated vehicles for the late 80s and early 90s. But now let's talk about some of the downsides and why you can pick them up reasonable and why they're not desired in the off-road community. And that would be this. The independent front suspension on this thing is absolute junk off-road. Good for on-road driving, but complete garbage off-road. This is not the vehicle you want if you're gonna just try to put a lift kit on it and wheel it. Also, and I'm gonna have you guys double check me on this, but as far as I can ever recall, there was never a square body S10 on Ultimate Adventure. That is also why I chose this truck. I don't think they've ever had this body style of S10. I know a couple years into it, they did have like a 94 Blazer or something like that, but I don't think they've ever had a square body S10 on Ultimate Adventure. So you're probably asking, why did onX call us about this? We are part of the onX Elite program, and you guys can be too. And basically, when you're part of the onX Elite program, you can get on the website and they have discounted parts that you can buy on their website where you can get good discounts for name brand parts and name brand companies in the off-road community. So this is probably going to be one of the hardest off-road build challenges we've had to date, because we are going to be competing against Holly from Mischief Maker and Rudy from Rudy's Adventure and Design on their Ram Charger. And not only that, but we're also going to be competing against Nate from Dirt Lifestyle and Ed Shin, who are going to be building, I believe, a Toyota of some kind. And you guys, if you guys get onto the onX Offroad website, you can actually vote for who you want to win. And the winner that you guys vote for is going to determine part of the reason why one of us gets to go on the Ultimate Adventure. It's getting a little windy, so I want to hang out over here for a minute. But I just want to tell you that I've wanted to go on the Ultimate Adventure ever since it first came out when I was in high school. The first year they did it, they actually did it in Arizona. And a lot of those guys that are part of that, adventure are what I consider friends of mine. There's a lot of things that I've always wanted to do is just be a part of something epic like that. A 1 week camping, off-roading, rock landing experience. Let me take you on a little bit of the adventure of what it took for me to get this S10. On my way down to go get a specific thing. All right, so it's the next day and I'm picking up this vehicle, and the guy who was meeting me to sell me the vehicle, his personal car, the battery died and he's afraid to get on the interstate, probably because the alternator's no good. I know what that's like. And so now I'm driving through Denver as opposed to just meeting on the north side of Denver at where the truck is parked. Now I'm driving through Denver to pick him up so that we can go look at this truck. Yay. All right, so the seller didn't want to be on camera, but just to prove that I am in Colorado, look at all the Colorado license plates in a Home Depot. We don't have that in Rapid City. All right, guys, so I picked up the truck and I was looking for a metal topper. I got a hold of David here from Facebook Marketplace. We just met, and he actually gave me the topper because he wants the bed for his truck. So he's got a really cool Ford Bronco. You guys obviously know now that this is for onX. And what did you just tell me about onX?
I said I have the hunting app of onX and I use that all the time.
And he's an off-roader too. I'm going to show you guys his Bronco too. Check that out. If you're wondering how I got this truck so cheap, remember a while back I did a video with my son on how to negotiate a vehicle price. But there are quite a few things that this thing has issues with. Number one, this door doesn't shut all the way. So it just sits here and rattles and rattles. It doesn't, the hinges are messed up, or the bushings inside the hinges are bad. Don't know what this is. The heater doesn't work right. The actual blower motor goes back and forth, but I have to sit there and wiggle it to find the right spot, and it squeals at me quite a bit. Oh, and with the blower, it only goes to floor. It doesn't matter if you have it on vent, defrost, or anything else. The blower only shoots at the floor. So something's up with the blend door system, probably a vacuum. Another issue with this truck is the temperature gauge. It reads well above 260 when it's cold. It says that it's overheating, and you can literally open the radiator cap still, and then once it's warmed up, it reads that you have 0 temperature. So I checked it after it's been running a while. It doesn't get hot. It's just something that I'm gonna have to fix. Put you in timeout. Put you in timeout. Stop it. Anyway. I don't want to turn the heater off, it's too cold. The dashboard is extremely cracked up. Not nearly the condition that he said it was in. And the 4-wheel drive squeals like a banshee. These are all things I was able to negotiate, on top of the fact that it has 209,000 miles on this truck. Oh, when I opened the hood, this thing shot off at me. I'm pretty sure this is the part that goes in the firewall. I feel like these are pretty well-known vehicles. If you're a true old Jeeper, you know that these 4.3s were a real common swap before the LSs got popular. It's -17 outside. I've been driving the onX Offroad Build-Off Challenge truck here, and unfortunately, this bad boy went out. And when it's this cold, a heater is pretty crucial. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to change this out. Unfortunately, my garage is full, and I only have a single car garage. Well, I have a 2-car garage, but half of it's full of tools and other crap. So I'm gonna try to knock this thing out, not freeze to death, and get this heater piece changed out. There always has to be that one that is just almost impossible to get to. This is just a little bit too short, and this is just a little bit too long. Then you wonder why we need more tools, and I can't even get in there and feel it with my glove on, so I have to go bare-fingered. And you have to warm them up. Also, another trick in the cold weather, people will not do this, but if you actually do this, that warms up the veins going into your hand. That's actually going to make your fingers warmer. Cold weather trick of the day from Cowl. So I went inside, warmed up, figured it would be smarter to work. I figured it'd be better to work smarter, not harder. So I was like, oh, I'll just start the Jeep up, let the heater run, and then I can warm up in that. If you can't hear that thing running like dog poop, then you don't understand how cold it is. It doesn't even want to warm up. If you're gonna have heating issues, they go out in the wintertime. Just like if you're gonna have cooling issues, they go out in the summertime. All right, can't feel my fingers. Let's try this. There. This thing's still messed up, but at least I have a blower and it's blowing. Woohoo! Moment of truth. It shuts. And it's level-ish. Think that's cool. Wait till you see this one done. So one of the reasons I got this thing as cheap as I did is because the door was sagging. It didn't shut right. I obviously had to cut into here, fix all of that. I still got to put the interior panels back together. But they were slamming the door so hard that they actually peeled the little door, the door support here off, hitting it and pulling it so hard. Another thing I noticed why it probably caused it is because the body mount is completely missing. The bolt is actually broke off in the body. So we're going to have to cut that off too. But I'm going to show you a quick trick to fix this. So the trick is you buy some aluminum angle iron. You can do this with steel too if you want to, but aluminum's a little bit easier to work with for what we're doing. And you can set it inside here where the holes are, drill your holes, and then take your screws and then screw it back in. And now it'll stay on there for good because it actually has a nice chunk of steel or aluminum, a piece of metal anyway, to hold it instead of this junky plastic that's just going to break and deteriorate over time. So I found some longer screws. I'm going to go ahead and put one in for the opposite side as well, even though it's not broken, but that way I should never have to worry about it. Now if you rip this door off, you're ripping the whole door off. So that's probably not good. Bolts rusted off, broke off right there, so I'm gonna have to cut. Oop. Stay up here, flashlight. Cut it out, and then I'll weld a new nut in, and then we can put the body mount back on. So I was looking underneath, in the low amount of room I have there, it may actually be easier to get from up here. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually unbolt this, and then peel the carpet back and actually cut it from the top side in. So one of the cool things about this build is a lot of the parts are actually going to come from your affiliate link with Onyx. So basically, if you guys want to sign up with the onX Elite program or sign up with Onyx at all, the onX Offroad app, make sure you use our BleepinJeep discount code that'll get you a discount to get it. Once you're an Elite member, you get a whole list of discounts from Yukon Gear and Axle, Method Wheels, Warren Winch, Barnes, a bunch of other companies that you can actually build your vehicle at a discounted rate because they are pro off-roading. They are pro getting you out on the trail. And that's a huge thing for a lot of companies. I like to support companies that support us. So if you're going to buy something from a company, make sure that that company is actually supporting the off-road community. In this case, both onX Offroad and these companies want to support the off-road community, and they're part of supporting the off-road community and responsible recreation. And therefore, if you're an Elite member, you get all these awesome discount codes, and that's how I'm going to build this thing on the most reasonable budget I can build a Rocklander on. So I hope that you guys get on the onX Offroad webpage and vote for us, vote for BleepinJeep, because I really want to put this thing on Ultimate Adventure. I don't think there's ever been a square body S10 on Ultimate Adventure, and I really, really hope that I get to do it. I've wanted to do this since, I mean, Ultimate Adventure's been happening since I was in high school. Well, that's not good. This thing's wet even right here, so I don't know if I have a window, like the front windshield's leaking, or if this thing was leaking when the door was cocked so bad. I'm hoping that it was just because the door had a gap in it and it was letting it run down in here, but man, that's not good. That thing is soaked. Look at that. Like, that's just rocks and dirt and stuff. So that's a good thing. I think what I am going to do, though, is I may, before we even take off, I may go ahead and just take this carpet out, because that is, I mean, that thing is soaked. You can see how wet my fingers are just from just dabbing it on there. So we just had my family over for lunch yesterday, and I was thinking about how it's nice when you get along with your family. I heard Steve Harvey had his family over for lunch, and they actually got into a fight, and it made headlines, and they called it a family feud. Look in there. Wonder why it rusted up. Weird looking nut there. So all I did there was found an old thick square washer that I found that actually fits the same dimensions from an old lift kit from somewhere, and then a nut that fits the bolt. Burned it on just a little bit, so it's good to go. It is anodized, so I just didn't breathe it. I mean, you can clean it up and you know, take all that stuff off, or you can just burn it in. There's gonna be a bunch of people telling me I did it wrong, but I'm on a time crunch here and I want to get this thing back together. But yes, if you're welding anodized stuff, don't breathe it. All right, so here's the original piece. Here's my new one. As you can see, it's the same square size. Actually, I think one of the things that hindered this is obviously the bolt didn't go all the way up into here. And so that's probably why it just held in dirt and water and rust. Where this one, the bolt will go past the nut when it goes in, so then it shouldn't hold that inside, just like a little mini bathtub for ants or something. All right, so I got the nut back in. I just got to weld on that cover. Then I'll fold this first layer down, weld it back in, then I'll fold the top back down and weld it back in. And we got it. Booyah. Now all I gotta do is put the body mount and bolt in, and I found them in the back, so we're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some Antiseize on this bolt, so in the future we won't have this rusty situation. I'll get a lot on there. Try to make myself feel good about it. All fixed. I also wanted to let you guys know that we're actually going to go to Moab and compete these things stock first. Also, if you guys want to see this S10 in person where it sits just like it now, or you want to see Nate and Ed's build, or you want to see Holly and Rudy's build, make sure you come to Easter Jeep and come hang out with us. We are going to set a date where we're all going to be there. Make sure you're following our social medias. Make sure you like and subscribe to our videos, because if you guys don't, a lot of times YouTube will kick you out, and then you're not getting the updated information. I really hope that we can see you guys there. I hope that you guys will be there. I hope you guys are going to be rooting for us, because I feel like we have the underdog vehicle. We have the low-end vehicle, but it has so many interchangeable parts with Jeep. It has so many things that I'm familiar with. Please make sure that you help us get on Ultimate Adventure. We would love to be the official onX vehicle for Ultimate Adventure 2023. I identify as a Jeep. Exhaust leak.
How's it drive?
Pretty good. Not bad.
For just a street rider, it rides okay, doesn't it?
It does. It's actually really comfortable.
So here it is in all its glory. An extended cab S10 pickup. We're gonna build that here in my garage. The reason we chose that is to show you guys, some of you guys may not have lifts, some of you guys may not have space. In this garage, it's tight and small. This is a very doable thing to do in your normal garage. And that's what we want to show you. And it can't be a real 90s rig if you don't have the black fur seat covers. And if you ever drove in the 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These things are sweet. Gotta have them. Otherwise, I already got the top off. I've been tinkering on little things. I hope to see you guys out there. I thank you for watching. Please make sure you go on onX and vote. And also, if you're going to be at Easter Jeep Safari, make sure you stop by on Friday morning at the onX booth. Come say hi to us. We'll see you guys then. Don't forget to like and subscribe.